stores that happen to be close together. So the neighborhood is home to nightlife, as is Sansom Street, the 1500 block near Ocean Prime. Sometimes often my brain goes through cycles of what was the point of 2011 and all the people who participated, whatever got kicked off in 2011 when I was made to believe I'd be murdered in my apartment the fourth Monday of January 2011, when at the same time my mom and aunt's phone lines were severed in Jacksonville, Florida. They lived there that year. They moved to Gainesville, Florida in 2012. Their phone lines were severed so that when I called in my time of need, I heard the sound of the disconnected jingle, doo-doo-doo, sorry, the phone number you're trying to reach has been disconnected. That added to the horror of everything going on. My whole world got turned upside down by invisible forces, in addition to people who are told to do things, which is now considered a federal crime. They're told to enact out and play out skits and so forth and so on. That is a conspiracy. So, should the government or similar be able to prove conspiracy that two or more people conspired together to diminish the quality of life of another person, then they are considered, conspirators and could be slapped with conspiracy charges. Conspiracy is a word that comes up every day in courtrooms across America and elsewhere. Yet it's a dirty word in some communities. Oh, they think it's about aliens. No. Conspiracy is when people gang up on another person, and if you have communications proving that people were supposed to meet at, 7 o'clock, 7:30 in the morning by the Union League as a group, looking as innocent as possible, then that's a conspiracy. And if, with In addition, people in the group knowing full well that they're supposed to be there in order to intimidate or influence someone a certain way to avoid the court. So say you saw a bunch of preachers like we just did, a bunch of priests or reverends, what have you, all dressed up, and they're there to remind you that it's, you know, I already know that it's hard to tell who's innocent and who's guilty because of how people are handled in the world. But some people very consciously are operating. So you don't want to tell anyone. You know, we're part of the church. We're more church oriented. We know that the world is little. People are heavily driven by other forces to do things and so forth and so on. But they just consciously would have come together in a conspiratorial way to heavily gang up on, and even though they seem nice, and it influenced someone's decision to protect herself. So we talked about that before. Anyway, in addition, I've been watching a YouTuber who happens to be the son of a preacher. And on top of that, I've met quite a few people who are sons and daughters of priests and preachers. I'm not even that church. I'm somewhat church oriented in the sense that I know weird things go on and the world won't talk about it. It's odd that somehow I keep meeting people who are sons and daughters, or I know them, or they come across my path one way or the other, and it keeps being reinforced. The son of a preacher man, you know. Preacher man. So anyway, just putting that out there. So women aren't even safe from, you know, gaggles of priests who come together to in an organized fashion. So remember, the word is organize. Who's organizing your life today? And you might think you're halfway in control, like, oh, well, I show up to my workplace, that's as much control as I can have, I need a paycheck, I control unless people made sure you lived in a certain house in, say, Bradenton, Florida, they made sure you wound up, you know, in a certain community, a certain location, and they're controlling your everyday life, would be the idea. So a lot of people could kind of be living in a somewhat of a variation of the Truman Show, and they may not realize it. Or if they're made to realize that that could be going on without their consent, then they could kind of go berserk. It's like when you hear people go berserk because of organs being underground trafficked, you know, for special people to receive the organs as opposed to people who are in need or on the list first or what have you. I would already know if someone flipped out at a hospital and wound up doing something crazy. I would already know that they were fed certain information and there was enough evidence, or they planted evidence so that person would totally believe that that's going on all the time. But so much that it's like, then it could actually be going on. Certain people are favored in the transplant world.